with Dr. Vandana Shiva, and here I am going to read her bio. Besides being a physicist, ecologist, activist, editor, and author of numerous books, Dr. Vandana Shiva is a tireless defender of the environment. She is the founder of Navdanya, a movement for biodiversity conservation and farmers' rights. She is also the founder and director of the Research Foundation for Science, Technology, and Natural Resource Policy. Intellectual property rights, biodiversity, biotechnology, bioethics, and genetic engineering are among the fields where Shiva has contributed intellectually and through activist campaign. During the 1970s, she participated in the non-violent Chipko movement, whose main participants were women. She has assisted grassroots organizations of the Green Movement in Africa, Asia, Latin America, Ireland, Switzerland, and Austria with campaigns against genetic engineering. She has written extensively, including publishing books on the violence of the Green Revolution, biopiracy, the plunder of nature and knowledge, monocultures of the mind, and many more. In 1993, she received the Right Livelihood Award, commonly known as the Alternative Nobel Prize. Other awards include the Order of the Golden Ark, Global 500 Award of the UN, Earth Day International Award, the Lennon Ono Grant for Peace, and the Sydney Peace Prize 2010. And here we all are very proud and happy to be with ma'am. And here I'd like to request Dr. Vandana Shiva to give a keynote address.
Thank you very much, Vandana, my namesake. Dear Mr. Rai, the former speaker of the Sikkimese Assembly, our beloved former Chief Minister, Pavan Chamlingji, whom I came to know only because Sikkim became the first state, not just of India, but of the world, to declare itself organic. And that's the reason, when I was on the jury of the World Policy Award, people were giving examples of one project or one village. I said, here's an entire state that made itself organic. And surely if we want to scale up organic, Sikkim's tremendous achievement needs to be recognized. But I am so happy this celebration of Sikkim Day or Sikkim Organic Day is being remembered and celebrated as a forward-looking day. Both the remarks of the former speaker as well as Mr. Rai are so clearly about where do we go from here. And where we go from here really is Sikkim leading the way to an organic India. The lovely video talked about a Jaivik Abhiyan. And I have always used the word Jaivik in our work in village communities because it's a Hindi word to which people relate. Organic is an English word which means the same thing. Organic does not mean a set of techniques alone. Organic definitely does not mean it was imported from the West. Sir Albert Howard was sent to India in 1905 to introduce what little chemicals were there at that time and more commercial farming, and to improve Indian agriculture for the empire, which means to supply raw materials. Howard arrived in Pusa. He had basically been asked to set up the Pusa Institute, which moved to Delhi only because of the earthquake. Howard arrives in India, sees the fields are fertile, full of biodiversity, including biodiversity of insects and no pest damage. And he said, what I have learned in England is so primitive compared to what I see in the fields of India. And he said, I decided I could do no better than to learn from the Indian peasant and the pest. And that is the beautiful part. How to do good farming. He wrote the book Agricultural Testament. Today's organic movement spread from there, from that one book, Agricultural Testament, which is a distillation of thousands and thousands of years of organic farming in India, of Jaivik farming in India. But Jaivik farming goes hand in hand with the Jaivik thinking. You have to recognize that the earth is a living system, that the soil is living, that the seed is living, biodiversity is living. And organic farming, Jaivik Kheti, then becomes the care of this multiplicity of life forms to actually increase and improve production. So Jaivik Abhiyan is a Jaivik Bharat. It's Jaivik means we must be well. So it's about a Swasth Bharat, a healthy Bharat. Jaivik means we must be able to live through all kinds of disasters, whether it be a COVID disaster or climate disasters, which are increasing in our Himalayan regions for reasons that are not lying in our actions. The glaciers are not melting because the Himalayan communities were using fossil fuels. The glaciers are melting because of 200 years of fossil fuel age by the industrialized colonizing countries. And the glacial melt has caused huge damage in my region of Uttarakhand. We've had the disaster of 2013 and last year, the disaster of Shishiganga. And I remember when I visited Sikkim there years ago, there was a disaster of landslides and flooding that had devastated the water supply to the capital. So climate disasters, COVID disasters, multiple kinds of disasters is what we are facing. And over these many years, my research has shown that at the root of climate change, 50% of climate change is because of industrialized, globalized, chemical, fossil fuel model of producing our food. But 50% of the damage to the atmosphere is then creating our disasters. But 75% of damage to soil and water is because of this chemical model. 90% biodiversity erosion now is recognized by the UN. I remember the first conference in Leipzig on plant genetic resources recognized that most species are disappearing because of monocultures of industrial farming. We used to eat 10,000 species of plants, 10,000 species. And I loved the image of the diversity of rices in Sikkim. Rice is our basic staple across most parts of India. And we call it akshat, the unbroken heritage of rice. Our farmers evolved 200,000 rice varieties, but every region has its unique rices because rice is so photosensitive that the rice of the high altitude will not grow at the low altitude. The rice of the Bay of Bengal will not grow in our Himalaya. The rice of Tamil Nadu cannot be transported to the north. So it is the most diverse of our crops. We've reduced our food base to about 12 globally traded commodities and increasingly a mere 4 genetically modified communities because they're linked to patenting and therefore at many, many levels of profit push. And this monoculture system has huge impacts on biodiversity, and 93% of all cultivated diversity has gone. But you look at the health issue then. In terms of health, in India alone, the damages to our health include the fact that we have new chronic diseases and we also have new infectious diseases and epidemics. I have done many papers to show that the new infectious diseases are coming from forests as forests are invaded. Why are we growing GMO soya bean in the Amazon? It is so wrong. Why are we destroying our native rainforests for biofuel? Why are we growing palm oil in Malaysia and Indonesia? And it does not make me happy to think of a plan for Northeast. Those forests and that biodiversity have much higher functions. And in terms of food, the diversity of the food the Himalayas grow and the Northeast grow are absolutely unbeatable. I remember in 1995, I did a study across India, across different farming systems, because I was very dissatisfied by the use of the yield per acre increasing. When I had watched Punjab devastated, and I wrote the book, The Violence of the Green Revolution. So quite clearly, yield was not telling you the story of income, economy, productivity. I'll give you a case for Sikkim. This was a case study of a mixed farm and a monoculture farm. The mixed farm had maize, radish, mustard, peas, and the total was 9 quintals. But the maize was 4. So, of course, all the Green Revolution techniques say, oh, increase the maize to 5, and they did. So your maize went up from 4 quintals to 5 quintals, but your total production of 9 quintals went down to 5 quintals. You didn't just lose production of food, you lost nutrition. Carotene went down from 3,000 milligrams to 400. Folic acid increased, the calcium down from 305 to 50. And then we worry about why we have osteoporosis. Iron from 29 to 11. And then we worry about why we have anemia. And I could go on. We have a whole book called Health Per Acre. It's available on the Navdanya website for anyone who wants to follow up. It's also, this data is also available in a book that we were asked to write, and dear Pavan Chamlingji released it when he attended the International Biodiversity Congress in Dehradun at the FRI in 2018. And this book is a synthesis of 36 years of our work and my research. And I would be very happy for Sikkim to distill it and make it a Sikkimese organic farming training manual for communities, for youth, for women, for every program, and make it a very, very powerful instrument to keep the organic Sikkim movement strong and evidence-based, as they keep saying. Let me just share with you 2 more data. In America, they have shown that 70 years of chemical farming has led to soil depletion, and in vegetables, the sodium is down by 49%, potassium down by 16%, magnesium down by 24%, calcium down by 46%, iron down by 27%, copper down by 76%, zinc down by 59%. And here is just one data that was sent to me by our farmers of Maharashtra, who got a university to make an assessment. And these are assessments Sikkim should be doing, comparing the nutrition in organic food versus chemical food, because the weight and yield is the irrelevant measure. Having nutritionally empty toxic food is not a good indicator of what are you growing as food. So beans, organic is 40 of calcium, 60 of magnesium, 99 of potassium, 227 of iron, 69 of copper. The same beans grown chemically are merely 15. So from 40, you've come down to 15. From 60, you've come down to 14. 99, you've come down to 29. 227 units of iron, you've come down to 10. And I could run this for cauliflower, for spinach, for tomato, for methi, and I will not take your time. I'm more than happy to send it to you in Sikkim, so you can use it. But I think across India and across Sikkim and every state, this is what our measurements should be. If we don't do this, look at the costs already. We are in a health disaster anyway with COVID. We've also seen that 92% of the COVID deaths were related to comorbidity. Comorbidity are diseases which they call lifestyle diseases, but they're really food system diseases when you use lots of chemicals and lots of ultra-processed food. Just run through the costs and figures. Autism, 20 lakh cases, 2.4 lakh treatment. Cancer, 13 lakh cases, 15 lakh of treatment per year. Diabetes, 7.7 crore. We are the epidemic of diabetes in the world now, epicenter. Nearly a lakh every year. Kidney diseases linked to diabetes, 11 crore. And just a dialysis each time costs 20,000. Liver cirrhosis, 94 lakh cases, 20 lakh treatment. we are talking about a disaster, actually, that's even bigger than COVID. And it's related to food. When we do organic food, we are turning our farms into our pharmacies. We are turning our farmers into our physicians. And that is the paradigm shift we need. But it's not just the health of people. Jaivik also means the health of the planet. And the big disaster, of course, that we have not caused, not India, not the mountains, not Sikkim, is the climate disaster. But we are the most impacted region of the world, as the 6th IPCC report shows, when the UN Secretary General talked of code red. We are the longest coastline, and that is getting messed up both by increasing cyclones, sea erosion, and sea level rise. Our region in the mountains is getting deeply affected by landslides, extreme floods, extreme rain events, and of course, the glacial melt. So we do know we must globally continue to fight for climate justice. But locally and regionally, we must develop strategies of climate resilience. And strategies of climate resilience, from our experience in Navdanya, comes from the same sources that allow organic to grow. So a Jaivik planet and a Jaivik earth is based on biodiversity and organic, just like healthy food is based on biodiversity and organic. Let me just share with you some of the data of the results, and we are going to do an even more intensive study this year. Nitrogen on our organic farms has increased to 100% in 20 years, whereas it's gone down 22% in the chemical farms. Zinc has increased 14% in the organic farms, it's gone down 37%, so we have zinc deficiency. Manganese, 70% down, 14% up in organic. So organic is not just helping our soils go healthier, it is creating resilience. And again, our work has shown that when soils have organic matter, their ability to hold moisture goes up. 0.5% organic matter, 80,000 liters. That is the difference between a drought collapse or a flood collapse. Because now that your soil is the sponge, it absorbs the water and holds it when the drought has come. But also when the flood has come, instead of the rain running off and carrying the soil with it, the moisture becomes the reservoir. It is the biggest reservoir on earth, and we have not looked at it enough. My colleagues in other parts of the world have extrapolated the experience, and we could literally pull down the excess carbon dioxide. Of course, we have to stop the fossil fuel use, but we can remove, if we were to extrapolate some of the farms that we have seen, the potential is up to 100 and 180 gigatons per year, if we extrapolate it to the world. So organic farming is the answer to climate resilience, is the answer to health. And the final point I will briefly make is the particular point Mr. Rai raised about doubling the farm income. So where are farmers' incomes going? Why are farmers' incomes hemorrhaging? They're hemorrhaging because, one, all the money is going for chemicals and external inputs. That's 75%. All the data of India, the NSSO data shows that. Why are farmers into debt? To buy unnecessary chemicals. So when you shut down chemicals and turn organic, you've already increased the farmer's income by preventing the waste. But there is a second element to it. And that second element has to do with the fact that you're now creating nutritious food. And for those who say organic is a luxury of the rich, it's just a propaganda spread to prevent organic from spreading. We work with communities, and our communities are creating organic markets in their villages between poor people. Because a poor person is even more careful about how they spend their rupee. And they don't want to spend that rupee on treatment of diseases. They want to spend it on healthy food. They're buying organic from each other. So markets are coming up. And I remember with fondness my first visit to Sikkim, where the fields were full of biodiversity, but every village had a farmer's market, fresh vegetables being sold. When I visited for the biodiversity day in 2018, the chief minister asked me to go to see the market for the organic farmers. Those are the initiatives we have to take. And we will not just double farm incomes. Our work in a book that's published called Wealth Per Acre, and the former Agriculture Minister Radha Mohan Singh has written the foreword. Our book on health per acre on true cost economic accounting has shown that the shadow for the environment and farmers of chemical farming in the country is 1.3 trillion. If you add health, it's about 3 trillion. So our GDP and the negative externalities of chemical farming balance out. Organic farmers are earning 10 times more by saving on chemicals, producing more diversity so they're not in distress, and more nutritious food of quality. When you sell, we grow only one commodity and it's globally traded and there's one buyer. The research is showing, and our research has all of this data, 5% stays with the farming community. The rest goes to the trading corporations. So the way to double farm incomes is to grow diversity, grow organic, grow more and more distribution chains of multiple levels, local, regional, national, and of course, high value products going to the global. Sikkim has shown us the way all these years. Let's make a commitment together that over the next 10 years, by 2030, let's follow Sikkim to make India organic. And for those who are here from the Agriculture Ministry, please, please, please take the Prime Minister's message, the former Chief Minister's message, the examples of our amazing organic farmers seriously. We don't have to dump GMOs on our people. We don't have to dump chemicals on our people. We must make India disease-free, debt-free, and hunger-free. We can. Organic shows the way. Sikkim has shown the organic way. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Madam, for your valuable words as well as inspiring. Now, further, we have a panel discussion, and for this, I'd like to request Mr. Jeevan Rai, author and senior columnist, to introduce the panelists and to take the panel discussion further.
Yeah, I've been pinching myself to believe that I'm listening to Miss Siva Bandana live, and I'm sort of enraptured by the fact that she's addressing us live and to be a part of this program where she is the keynote speaker. And it was not just knowledge gaining, but it was so inspiring to hear her and to once again believe that we can really take this ambition of making the world organic to a higher level. Thank you so much, madam. We really needed to hear this, and I'm sure the people in responsible positions in the state will hear you when this video gets shared and your message gets conveyed. Thank you so much, madam. And now it's my privilege to introduce my esteemed panelists this afternoon. I will try to make it as brief as I can. First of all, I would like to introduce Dr. Madhu Burma. She is an Indian-born environmental economist, presently working as chief economist at World Resources Institute, India. She has worked extensively on economic valuation and green accounting of ecosystems and biodiversity, ecosystem economy modeling, tiger and snow leopard habitat valuation,